Housing Commission meeting for Thursday, January 18, 2024 to order. Let's stand for the pledge of allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice.
Conduct the roll call.
Commissioners Jelinski,
Here.
Renton,
Here.
Shamp, here, and Chair Fisher. We have a quorum.
Staff, are there any agenda amendments?
No amendments to the agenda.
Okay. Now we will look at the minutes from our special meeting on August 17, 2023. Does anyone have any questions or revisions on that? No, can I get a motion to approve the minutes as they are?
I move that we approve the minutes from the special meeting from August 17th.
Second that.
Okay, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say nay. Okay, the minutes are approved. No consent calendar items. We'll move on to do we have any introductions or recognition for the board?
None of those items. I told you college, that Steve Hernandez, more of the usual staff members, not yet.
Okay, thank you. Did you have any public comments?
No.
Okay. Cool. So we'll move to matters before the commission. And we will go to review and provide recommendations to City Council for an affordable housing agreement with City Ventures for the Harmony Condominium Project.
Okay, and before we start, I do own property, 4411 Shearwater Court, which is in 500 feet of the project. The value of my property is more than $2,000, and so because of the financial interest, I will not be participating in this decision.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And Chairperson Fisher, I would like to note, even though Commissioner Jelinski is stepping down from her roles, Housing Commissioner will be participating or voting. Sherry Jelinski, property owner, is allowed to, under state law, sit in the audience and speak to you and address you as any other member of the public is allowed to, because there is a law specifically when a public official owns real property, and they are allowed to still address you as any other member of the public. So she can stay in the room and also speak.
Thank you. Okay.
Thank you, Chair Fisher and the Housing Commission. The item before you this evening is the Affordable Housing Agreement for the Harmony Condominium Projects. This project is located at 2025 Santa Rita Road, shown here in an aerial image. You can see the 1.96 acre project site, which is currently occupied by the Tri-Valley Inn and Suites, which is a 34-unit motel room. It also includes offices, an in-ground pool, and parking spaces. This site is identified in the housing element as Site 16 or the Tri-Valley Inn, and I'll note that the housing element identifies it as a 2.3 acre site, which includes the Lockhart Lane right-of-way, which is being dedicated to the city as part of the project, and you can see that Lockhart Lane right-of-way to the south of the project site. Here is a overview of the site plan. The project includes 42 3-story townhome style condominium units with unit sizes from approximately 1,400 square feet to 2,100 square feet with either 3 or 4 bedrooms, and the units are spread across 7 buildings on the site. Here are a couple elevations of the project. This is an elevation from Santa Rita Road. This is building A. And here are 2 more internal project elevations, one from a Paseo, which is one of those internal green spaces from the project, and another from the Lockhart Lane elevation. And I'll note that this project received design review approval on October 30th, 2023, and vesting tentative tract map approval on November 8th, 2023, pursuant to SB 330, which is the Housing Crisis Act of 2019. And I'll hand these next slides over to Larissa.
Great. So as our project planner Emily has explained, this project proposes 42 condominium units. And under the city's inclusionary zoning ordinance, condominiums are considered multifamily housing, and they would typically be required to provide 15% of the units as affordable. 15% of 42 is 6 units. However, the city's inclusionary zoning ordinance, which was originally adopted in 2000, also provides for flexibility in the manner in which a developer can meet the inclusionary requirements. They can do that by building units on site. They can do it by building units off site. They can do it by dedicating land, or they could also do it by paying the affordable housing fee. In this situation, because the city's ordinance provides for these options, under state law, as it has been changing more recently, so while our ordinance was adopted in 2000, more recent state laws say that if we have these kinds of discretionary processes, that we have to allow developers to select among those discretionary processes. In this case, City Ventures has proposed to pay the affordable housing fee rather than construct on site, rather than construct off site, or rather than dedicate land. If I can have the next slide, please. So the proposed affordable housing agreement that's attached is the one that we as staff are recommending that the Housing Commission make and recommend to the City Council for adoption. This would provide that City Ventures would pay for the affordable housing fee for each of the 42 condominium units. The the agreement is clear that they would pay it at the then current rate. So right now in 2024, the current rate is $50,077 per unit for the total payment that you see there. But if, for example, City Ventures were to build half the units in 2024 and the other half in 2025, those units that get built in 2025 would pay the rate in effect in 2025. So that's the process for the affordable housing agreement. And as you see, that would be recorded against the property would be a mandate for the current developer. And if this developer, for example, were to sell the property to some other developer, that next developer would also be required to meet these requirements. So that's what the proposal is and how they would meet the requirements of the inclusionary zoning ordinance. So as I indicated, staff is recommending that the Housing Commission consider this. You can certainly ask any questions, and we recommend that you make a recommendation to positively approve this to the City Council. And the project proponents are here today if you have any questions. Thank you.
So I had just my own curiosity, when the city spent quite a bit of time and effort to try to address the state's RHNA requirements, was this included in the total number that we were doing?
This is one of those housing sites that, as you know, our RHNA requirements include both, also a whole range of housing, very low, low, moderate, above.
Then I understand it. So this, the second part of the question is, so if the 6 that were possibly going to be built are not going to be built, does that mean the city has to then go out and find 6 additional locations?
No, under the state law, so the state law has a provision that's called no net loss.
Mhm.
And under state law, that's only if a housing project is proposed at a density lower than the density range that's proposed. So in this project, the density range was, I believe, 20 to 25 units per acre, and then this one is at 21 units per acre, so it fits within the density range. If they had proposed a project, for example, that was 15 dwelling units per acre, then we would have a loss of density, and then we would have to find another site.
Okay, thank you. That's about parking.
Yeah, is that, this is the appropriate
Could you
time?
bring this? So
Yeah.
the 3 of us were talking about just in general, so on the overhead view or aerial view right now, where it's got Lockhart Lane, does that pass through to the neighborhood in back of it?
Yeah, it passes through to the multifamily residential behind it, and that site comes out onto Valley. So I believe that those existing residents use Lockhart Lane as well to exit.
So what I was getting is there's virtually no parking for anybody but the people that are moving into these, at least it looks like it. People are
There's
moving in.
3,
So the question we were asking is, where does any overflow parking?
or
Go.
guests.
Yeah, yes, exactly. I mean, you've got the businesses there that I have no doubt that at night are probably gonna be used for parking. But they had their opportunity to raise an issue with that. I'm sure the city's gonna.
Are people going to be able to park on Lockhart?
There's no parking on Lockhart Lane or on Santa Rita Road in front.
No, I know that.
So as part of the review process, did traffic or parking address any of those?
Yeah, our traffic division did review the project. It does conform with the Pleasanton Municipal Code requirements for parking. That's chapter 1888, which requires 2 covered parking spaces per unit. And the guest parking spaces provided are actually in exceedance of that municipal code requirement.
So back to my original question, is there parking if you pass through Lockhart Lane to these neighborhoods in back of there?
I believe that the parking in the site behind is reserved for those residents. So we didn't anticipate the potential residents parking in that complex.
And 3 additional parking spaces is the only thing that's required by the city to satisfy the.
The project conforms with the parking requirements.
How is the size of these properties determined? I see 1,400 to 2,150. That seems rather large for affordable housing. Is there a limit to how big affordable housing homes are so people can actually afford them?
So, none of these are designated as affordable housing units.
Oh.
They're market rate units. And the way that the city controls size is through things like setbacks, height requirements, and floor area ratio. That's how we regulate unit size.
Okay.
But we don't have a specific tie between affordability and unit size, and nor are these units proposed.
Okay. Because based on what you were describing, it seemed like we're still within the RANA requirements. So how are we going along with those requirements if we're?
So
This is not-
the RENA, as Larissa mentioned, is for all affordability levels. So they're required to accommodate market rate units as well as affordable units. In the housing element, these was projected to be market rate units, and as you mentioned, these are within the density range anticipated by the housing element. So they're within, and will count against our RENA requirements.
It will, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's-
Within our-
The market rate is not affordable, I see.
And
Okay.
there's not gonna be any low income housing for $15,000.
Right, no, I understand that, but I was trying to understand the point that she made earlier. Okay, okay. Okay.
So are there people here from the development company? So what do you think of our concerns about additional parking besides the ones that come with the units?
Did we want to go open the public hearing if there are no more questions?
Oh.
We can ask the developer to discuss and then have other members of the public.
Sorry, so your question was in regards to the parking?
Yes.
Yeah, so like Emily had mentioned, the requirements in the objective design standards were 2 parking spaces per unit. And each of these units will come with their own private 2 parking. So these, it does adhere to all of the objective design standards.
But my question is more to address potential overflow. People have guests that come spend the night, people that are, moms, dads that come into town for a long week to see their kids or something like that in terms of where they're gonna wind up parking.
Yeah, unfortunately, there's no public parking on Lockhart Lane or Santa Rita. There is street parking across the street on the other side of Santa Rita. But yeah, unfortunately, there will be no additional. I think there's one guest parking spot, allocated in the project.
This says 3, so, but still,
Three, yeah, sorry on that.
yeah.
For the total for the entire complex?
Correct.
Do the homes have a driveway?
They are, so the garages are facing an alley. So I'm not sure if you have the. So if you see the internal alleys, so Scarlet Court, Willow Court, and Evergreen, there's about, 2 to 3 foot, driveway.
So not
along
where,
that.
where you can't park?
No.
Okay.
And there probably will be CCNRs where you won't be able to park people,
Correct.
yeah.
Yep.
Okay. I don't have any questions other than.
I don't have any question about it. I still think that's a real legitimate concern. I'm not gonna sit there and try to push it any
Yeah.
further.
Right, I believe the applicant has a presentation tonight and have 10 minutes to speak, as the project proponent.
Commissioner Emmanuel Robinson, with City Ventures. I just wanted to highlight that we did hear some of the concerns at Planning Commission in regards to additional guest parking in the project. And we continue to explore additional parking spaces within the project, working along with staff. We are tied to our CEQA process that we went through for this project. So the amount of trip generation and additional guest parking are limited to that, but we are working collaboratively with staff. And we did hear some of the neighbor concerns in regards to parking. So we are working with them to hopefully add a few more spaces in the project. The number of spaces to be determined, but we're hoping to add a few more spaces to the project.
Just as one other comment for the record, having people running across Santa Rita Road to go park a car is not a real safe thing to do. And you have to walk probably 3 or 4 blocks to get to an actual traffic light to sit there and do it legally, which I think most people probably wouldn't.
I'm totally interested, sir, but we are required for the amount of trip generation as well as our CEQA document in terms of the amount of additional parking we can provide on site. And so we don't want to go over that threshold because we would have to CEQA process for the project again. So.
What are we planning to do with the money? I'm asking, I think the city.
So when money gets paid into the Affordable Housing Fund, it has to be spent as described in the ordinance, which is in terms of policies and programs in the general plan and in the housing element. So those are some of the programs that you see, for example, when you see grants or other projects you see when we provide financial support, first-time home buyer loans and those kinds of different programs or projects where we provide financial assistance, for example, the Sunflower Hill project and different things like that is the way the funds get spent.
Does it always, because it seems vague, that it seems like it's maybe, it doesn't have to get spent on affordable housing? Does it have to get spent on affordable housing?
It can be spent on programs that support affordable
Okay.
housing, so it can also be spent, for example, for first-time home buyers, tenant education, tenant rights, and those kinds of things also.
Okay.
And then some of our grant programs where we provide either low-interest loans or grants, for example, for low-income people to do a re-roof or something like that, so it can be for those kinds of reasons also.
That is generally affordable.
Right, generally housing affordable, so for example, a roofing grant will only go to a qualified, usually low-income person, not
Okay.
a market rate person, right?
Thank you.
So just for my own personal knowledge, would the city ever use money like it's coming into this project for another project where the builder says we can't afford to sit there and do low income housing to maybe offset part of that for the builder to actually physically get something built?
It could potentially be for that. For example, we might provide a loan. There's been other situations where we've provided, what we talk about loans or other kinds of reduced fees and things like that.
Yeah.
But it's really project dependent because some projects don't want the fees reduced because then other state laws are activated that make them have to pay more for construction costs.
Mhm.
So it's a careful balance.
Yeah. Okay.
I have a question about the inclusionary zoning ordinance, but you said you have a presentation?
Yeah, just a couple.
So, I mean, it can wait, because it's more about the one I saw that the city's updating theirs, so I mean, I'm more interested in talking about that, so if that question can wait.
Well, maybe we can allow, our folks from City Ventures to provide their presentation. And then we can circle back to questions from staff and
And then if there's any member of the public
Yeah,
that's wants to be
yeah.
addressed.
All right, well, first off, thank you all for your time tonight, and thank you, Emily, and Larissa, and Ellen, for your introduction. I'll keep this brief since, a lot of this has already been discussed. My name is Luke Morris. I'm here with City Ventures. For those of you who are unfamiliar, City Ventures, we are a sustainable infill developer. So we focus on underutilized parcels in existing urban areas. We've completed several other housing element projects in other cities. And so when this project was brought towards us, we're really excited to jump on it. You can go to the next slide. So I wanted to just start off by giving you a brief background of the timeline, just to kind of give you some context, kind of how we got here tonight. So the project was kicked off in July of 2021. And since, we've worked very closely with staff on designing a project that not only adheres to all of the objective design standards, but, really brings a vibrant community to the neighborhood. During those initial conversations with staff, we were informed that the city was in the process of updating the 6 cycle housing element. And so we sort of both agreed that, it would be best to just hold off on submitting a formal application until the housing element was adopted. And so fast forward to January of last year, the housing element, as you probably know, was adopted. And our first formal submittal went in March of last year. You can go next slide. And so in October, our application was deemed complete. And that month we went to the zoning administrator where we received approval on our design review. The following month in November, we presented to the planning commission where we received approval on our tentative map. And that brings us here to tonight. So I know you guys are familiar with the project site at this point, but I just want to restate that this is a 1.9 acre site with an existing 34 unit motel. We are proposing 42 townhomes that will be marketed towards first time home buyers, and families looking to just grow their roots in Pleasanton. Like Emily was saying, the homes start at around 1,400 square feet and go up to about 2,100 square feet. And like I said, they'll each have their own private 2-car garage. Next slide. So the project is featured by a large centralized open space, which will include a large oak tree as well as a Zen garden. It'll also include dedicated play areas, barbecue and picnic area, and a series of walkways to bolster pedestrian connectivity. And so we're currently working on our master and improvement plans with the city. We're really excited to make progress on obtaining permits and really just seeing the project further progress. So yeah, I'm happy to answer any other questions you guys have.
I don't have any further questions.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So, any comments from the public?
Those speaker requires a receipt.
Okay. Great. So are we ready to vote on this?
I believe so.
Okay. Can you give a roll call vote on this?
It's not necessary to do a roll call vote
Oh,
because you're not remote, so you have nobody remote, so you can do it
Okay, great.
in person.
Then, yes.
I vote yes.
Make the
That's
motion in second.
Yeah.
Okay. I make a motion that we approve the that we approve the Harmony Condominium Project Affordable Housing Agreement by City Ventures
Vice Mayor.
I second that motion.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say no. It's approved.
Thank you.
Can I ask about the IZO? Okay, so I saw in the documents that the.
Oh, and at this point, we can ask your fellow commissioner to return.
Oh, yes, I'm back.
Thank you.
So I saw on page 5 that the inclusionary zoning ordinance has been, that the city in December embarked on a project to update the existing, do you say it's IZO?
IZO.
Okay, I wasn't sure if it was like, the different name. Yeah,
We have
IZO.
lingo for everything.
Yes, exactly. And, that you're hoping to have that completed by August of 2024. Is there a draft of that? Is there anything that the public can, I'm just curious, it's.
Not yet, so we started our process, kicked it off in December, so we're currently really beginning work. We expect by, I think May-ish timeframe, we should have a draft of, the IZO and other related documents, or certainly key policy, items that might be considered in that update, for review.
Okay. And so the public will be able to, or if you look at the city council agenda or something like that.
We'll have a work session, with the city council, and have some input there.
Okay, great, thank you.
Good, we'll move to the next item, which is the appointment of board officers, chairperson and vice chairperson. 2024. So, anyone would like to volunteer for the chair position?
Well, I feel like you didn't even get a chance to do it,
It's okay. I'm willing to.
and you've done such a great job, so I feel like you should still do it. You've done a great job for 2 or 3 meetings.
Yeah. But, no, I'm fine if anyone else wants to volunteer to do it.
Are we merging with the planning commission? Is that what we're?
The council discussed, reorganization of a number of city, commissions, and at, when was in October,
October 17th.
the council was supportive of the idea of bringing the work of the housing commission under the planning commission. So not quite a merge, but the role of the housing commission would, be absorbed essentially into the planning commission.
So we may not be here in 3 months from now.
The city council is going to potentially discuss this again on February 20th,
Okay.
potentially. So, and then it would only be after that they may make a decision, or perhaps not. So we're not sure, but we definitely need you to forge ahead.
That's right.
I would say, I mean, Harleen, if you're okay with, I mean, unless anybody has any other dreams. I think I would just say, let's just, if you're happy with this, okay with this status quo. Because I don't imagine us
Being here for very
being
long.
here very long.
Okay. Okay, well, that's fine then. Okay. So how did we go about?
So, I hear Commissioner Redden nominating Commissioner Fisher to be chairperson.
To continue.
Yes. Is there a second?
I second that motion.
All in favor, say aye. Okay.
And then how about a vice chairperson?
I would volunteer to be vice.
I would second that nomination.
Okay, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Can I vote on myself?
You certainly.
Yes. Approved.
Thank you.
Very good. Everyone,
Yes.
any commissioner reports? From
Mm-mm.
our commissioners? Do we have any future agenda items for next time?
There will be additional affordable housing agreements coming before you, in the next few months. I don't have a timing for those, but, those would principally be the items on your agenda that I'm aware of. Steve might have others.
Right.
About this going forward. Oh, I'm sorry, the housing and human services grants, process is also.
Right. You said more than one? I was aware of, Steve, I think Steve mentioned one, but there's more than one?
We have several
Okay.
housing projects, and each of them will have an affordable housing agreement associated with them.
That's exciting.
Anything else? Okay, great. Thank you. Adjourn